Boy, you ever get deja vu? All right, so welcome to our Game Over head-to-head. We're going to be getting to Marc Dumont in just a moment, but first, the NHL season is heating up, and there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Whether you're looking to hammer an Austin Matthews anytime goal or ride the puck line with the Montreal Canadiens, our partners at Sign Up Expert want to make sure you're ready to sweat your bets with the best. Sign Up Expert is hooking up our listeners with one of the newest sports books available in Canada, Betano. Betano is home to some of the best odds when it comes to betting on the NHL and offers unique markets including virtual soccer and basketball. All you have to do to get started is scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description to register and place that first bet. If you thought the Vancouver Canucks have been the best surprise so far, wait until you try Betano. Don't walk, run to check out Betano today. Scan the QR code or hit the link in the description to get started and start sweating your bets with the best. Always remember to bet responsibly and within your means. Viewers must be 19 years and older to sign up for Betano. Okay, so take two. Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great, Peter. Hey, listen. We did pretty good in that last intro, but I think in the evening showing we can do a little bit better. The matinee was okay, but we can do a little bit better there. Hey, listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Peter, for hosting. So what happened here is I wanted to avoid the NDG internet, as you all know, as you all wrote in the chat. So I asked Peter to host while I would host, okay? If that makes sense. So he's doing the hardwiring hosting, and I was just going to do the pretty face hosting. Anyhow, forgot to mention to change the stream key. So that's what happens there. Thank you so much for being patient. I love everybody in the chat. Honestly, you're all great. Hi, Adam. How's it going? Hi, Claire. How's it going, Claire? And shout out to Evan for doing my introductions without me there. You all know me too well. So fun night. Obviously, the Canadiens offense stalled, but there's a lot to talk about. We might even, Peter, talk about the Sean Monahan issue, right? I think that's something that Habs fans want to talk about. He didn't score tonight, but he came so close. So we're going to talk about the Flames first, which has been a confusing season. And then we're going to talk about the Habs, and we'll get into our commentary from all our amazing people there. Before we get going, please like and subscribe the stream. And we promise that this is the last intro we're going to do tonight. We're not doing any other ones. Peter, we originally wanted to have Cat Toffoli on tonight. Now, what happened is that she's busy with Jake Evans is getting married, so she's going out with the Montreal girls tonight. So she couldn't join us. But that's fine. We love Cat. We're going to give her the night off, right, Peter? We're that generous.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this would be more fun, but I guess we're just going to let her have to slug it out there. But yeah, I think we made the right call letting her have the night off and enjoy some fun this evening.
I think she's probably going to have a little bit more fun, but we're going to have a lot of fun too. We're going to talk obviously about Yuri Slafkovsky. We might even talk about Nazem Kadri, the Sean Monahan thing, and everything else. Now, before we get going, we just let everyone know, first segment Flames, second segment Habs. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. If you want to praise Caden Gooley, I'm looking at you. Okay, you know, I know you're here. Oh, there you are. You're going to love what you saw tonight from Caden Gooley. There was a bit of a scary incident, and I want to talk about that real quick. But we're seeing great things from a guy who, you know, in another world could be the Canadiens captain right now in an alternate universe. But we're not in an alternate universe, are we, Peter? We're in a universe where the Flames, hey, great win. And I think that'll do them a lot of good. But what's the vibe right now in Calgary?
Not good, Mark. Not positive. It's
not good.
Yeah, no. On a scale of good to bad, it's bad right now out here in Calgary. People are very fed up with the direction of this team. This season has not started the way a lot of people thought it would. We thought the vibes would be better this year. Out goes Daryl Sutter, Ryan Huska, this guy who everyone likes. I've been able to interview him a number of times. He was always nice to me, which means he has to be the best person. And that's how media works, right?
That's the rule in media. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought that things would be a whole lot better coming into the season. And it's the same from last year. Huberdeau has not been able to find whatever magic he left behind in Florida. Nazem Kadri has been better lately, and I'm sure we'll get into that here. But he has not been the guy that this team needed him to be. And everyone wants to leave. Whether you're whether you're on a expiring contract, multi-year contract, everybody wants out of Calgary.
Except for Backlund, right?
Yes, except for Backlund, who wanted out of Calgary and then didn't want out of Calgary, and now he has a letter on his chest.
Funny how that all worked out.
Right,
Right? No, but I mean, it must be such a situation of unrest because they don't seem intent on rebuilding, and I kind of understand why, but there doesn't seem to be much light at the end of that rainbow. So we're going to keep it positive. They won. What are the positive things that the Calgary Flames can look at right now?
The positive thing is something that I think Josh Anderson is going to be seeing in his nightmares for a while, and that's Jacob Markstrom has been excellent. The save percentage probably doesn't look at 5-on-5 goals. I think the Flames are still towards the bottom, although tonight will help. But this has been a significantly better season for Jacob Markstrom. When you go from Daryl Sutter to almost any living organism on the planet, you're going to have a bit of a drop off defensively. Like for all of Daryl's flaws, and there are lots. The man knows how to coach himself in NHL defense. And so they went from a strong structure to what you saw tonight, which was skating around with your heads cut off and hoping Markstrom makes 35 saves, which worked.
That's the Michel Therrien approach to coaching. You know, it's the only coach in NHL history that had two of his goalies win the Hart and the Vizina in the same year, and everyone's celebrating for it. But really, you're like, hey, why did that happen? So yeah, it's not exactly relying on your goalie. Montreal fans know all too well.
Yes,
is not an ideal situation. But are playoffs still even in a possibility? Are they in people's minds? I mean, like, regardless, it's early in the season, but not all is lost for the Flames, right?
Right. I think that the organization would tell you the playoffs are still the goal. They are very against rebuilds. There has been.
Has Calgary ever really done a proper rebuild?
Not really. They traded Jerome McGinley about 5 years too late. They got a pick that turned into Morgan Klimchuk, who, again, nice kid, but if you're saying who, that's probably the correct answer. And that was kind of the main piece out of that. And from there, they bottomed out for a couple of years, got Monahan, who, you're welcome, and Sam Bennett, who, you're welcome, Florida. And it never was really able to turn around, because basically, as soon as Jerome left, Johnny Gaudreau came in, and they were kind of off to the mediocre races one more time, winning division titles one year and missing the playoffs the next. So no, that they have never fully committed to let's just embrace the suck for a while and go through it. That they have always tried to piece together things. I will say to anyone with ears, while 2004 was great and fun in this city, I think it did a disservice to ownership who think, oh, just finish 6th and you can make a run to the Stanley Cup final, because you're always going to have a Mika Kiprasov and Jerome McGinley to go out there and
Craig
carry
Conroy that's scoring left and right.
Right.
Well, okay, I was just about to mention that because I think that was the only time in Canadian history where everyone in Canada said, fuck yeah, let's support the Flames. Yeah. Like it felt like everyone, and it was, okay, you had Iginla was fighting Le Cavalier, you know, like you had captains going at it. That cup run was probably the most fun. I mean, Montreal had a cool one the other, but this one, you knew, like, Calgary probably deserved there's no such thing as deserved in sports, but they could have done a little bit better. So yeah, it's funny you mention that one cup run, but what it does, as you say, it lifts up those expectations.
Yeah,
if you just get in, you'll be fine. Hey, that's great for stories, but statistically speaking, it's not. Yeah. I mean, like the Kings won with that 8th place, right? You know how many GMs have that circled? They have that on their VCR every year. They're putting that in the summer.
That, and the Blues were in last place by New Year's Day that one year. That has inspired so many awful decisions around this league now.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the most cup winners, they're just dominant right off the bat, right off the get-go, all the way through. Okay, what if I tell you this though? The Calgary Flames are a top 10 team in Corsi, so shot share, a top 10 team in expected goals, which is very important, but they're one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to actual goals, the goal control. So their expected goals is about 51.5%, which is very good, very, very good. I mean, anything above 50 is great. Their actual goal share is, what is it? I lost it, but it's really bad. It's something like 40% or 41%. So logically speaking, they're due for a huge uptick in results, aren't they?
You would think so. The problem is there's a real lack of finish on this team. Like I would imagine the expected
Andersonitis.
Goals. Yes. Yeah. It's a full team of it. Like Connor Zary, I think is 3rd or 4th on the team in points, and he came up 9 games into the year. So not a positive sign. But like I would imagine expected goals on a 2-on-0 is pretty high, and they missed the net on that tonight. It's just it's a lot of that. Like that they have Huberdeau, who when he is at his peak, he is a phenomenal playmaker, and Lindholm can finish. Aside from that, like Backlund's great, but I don't know if 30 goals are ever going in off of that stick. Mangiapane has scored 30 before, but I wouldn't call him a 30 goal scorer, if that makes sense. Like they don't really have a lot of guys with finishing ability, and that has been a problem for this team. And unfortunately, they then don't do some of the, like they play as if they have guys who can shoot like Caulfield can, but then they don't have anyone who can do that. So it's a real interesting mix right now. So no, I have seen that, and there is absolutely reason for optimism. You would assume at some point some of those are just going to start to go in. I just don't know where it's starting to go from. Like, this team struggled to score goals last year and then traded Tyler Toffoli's 34 goals for Igor Sharangovich and didn't bring anyone else in. So
that was it, eh? That was the wow, how has he been? I haven't had a chance to watch him, but has he been okay? He's
been okay. They put him as a fourth line center to start, which isn't the place that you would think that is going to maximize all of his value. But he has. He's been so good, it's knocking my equipment over. He's done pretty well in those roles, and so he has kind of worked his way up a little bit. You can see, like, there's a shot there for sure, but it hasn't really, he hasn't really done a whole lot, really, to make up for what was missing.
Well, and that's okay. And let's talk about that. Now, actually, there's one of the best comments right now. We have Conrad Crossert who says anything is possible. Now, that's pretty good. And we saw him today. Actually, great. That's a great story that he's back, doing good things in the NHL. We saw Gooley cut him off on a play tonight, but it was, it's still fun to see him in the NHL. Let's talk about Tyler Toffoli, because I don't know if he's become a mythic figure in Calgary as he has in Montreal. But, there was a guy tonight that they put in the Ring of Honor called Pierre Turgeon, who he was the captain, and he moved the Habs from the Bell Center to the Forum. And I'll tell you right now, you ask most Habs fans who they wanted the Ring of Honor, it would be Tyler Toffoli, immediately. So he made such a huge impact with the Canadiens. How was he in Calgary? Because he was just quietly adorable here. First of all, he's like the living embodiment of a golden retriever. He scores a surprising amount of goals for a guy who always kind of looks like he's falling as he has a breakaway. And he's not that fast, but hey, he's doing great in New Jersey because he has a great sense of hockey. So what was his tenure in Calgary like?
He was the bright light in a sea of darkness last season. With everything going bad with Daryl Sutter and all of that, he was the only one who was really shining through. And he has an unbelievable knack of just being exactly where he's supposed to be always. It was really cool to see that. Like, it's hockey sense, like 1,000 out of 10. He is so great.
Just the guy that's and it's almost Gretzky-like in its approach. And I'm not trying to I know that's pushing it. But there's some guys that don't have to chase. Everyone always says Andrew Shaw, oh, he worked so hard. Yeah, the guy was 45 feet away from where he should be at every single fucking play. He was catching up. That's why he looked like an idiot chasing. Toffoli's always where he's got to be. Yeah. That's really his advantage.
Totally, 100%. And so, yeah, he kind of filled a need that this team desperately had with which was like putting the puck in the net. He's so good at that. So yeah, people look upon him fondly. And I think going into last offseason, there was a number of players who had this year was their last year. And I think a lot of people were kind of hoping that he would be the one that they'd be able to figure out instead of the first, and to this point, only one out the door. I think a lot of people were hoping that he would stick around, but there's no one is upset about the success he's having right now in New Jersey. That's for sure.
No, and that's kind of the mark of when he everyone loves him in his team, and when he goes to another team, people are actually happy. But it's funny because with Montreal, the Toffoli trade signaled the beginning of the end, right? Like, that was their first trade where it was almost their Phil Kessel trade where they traded him a year early, but they just wanted to get him out of there just so we didn't have a good player on the team. You know what I mean? It was essentially lowering the quality. And after him, that's when you had Ben Sherratt got traded, Lehkonen got traded, everyone else got traded. The Flames started strong. Then what do you think happened? Was it just, I mean, let's be honest, Calgary's had a bit of a rough ride with random things in the last 2 years. Is this all on management. Personally, I think so, but they haven't been dealt the best hand either, right?
No, I think that they probably should have rebuilt a while ago, and so I think like they have put themselves in this spot, like you said, or like we talked about before. They have never really fully embraced it. That's why we have
Like ever, yeah. I can't even before the Gretzky days. I'm trying to think like
yeah,
there's nothing.
yeah,
Never.
no, like
Not even an inkling, not even like an attempt.
no,
Calgary's always just been there trying to get in fourth to eighth.
yes,
And a
perpetual
couple
mediocrity.
divisions in there.
Yeah, division. They won the division and then lost to the Avalanche in 5. It's great. But no, like they've never really gone for it. Like that's why you get former Calgary Flame greats like Owen Nolan, Tony Amonte, and Olli Jokinen. All players that you associate with the Calgary Flames, of course. But it was
Owen Nolan, really?
Owen Nolan. Oh yeah, yeah. Owen Nolan was a Calgary Flame. I'm sure he likes to forget it too. But
That's crazy to me.
yeah,
Like, there's some guys I just don't like, Joe Nieuwendyk, I should probably associate with the Flames. He's the one who ended up getting a Ginla. But yeah, I do not associate Owen Nolan. I would have failed on that quiz.
yeah, it's a real good Puckdoku one. If you can remember that, but like it has always been that way. And so there was a point where they had missed the playoffs with Gaudreau and Monahan, and it was kind of like, okay, this feels like maybe this one isn't going to work. But instead, they like doubled down, and to be fair, they went on and made the playoffs. And it was always that kind of roller coaster where it was playoffs, and then they would dip down the next year. But okay, playoffs, I get we lost in 5, but playoffs, huh? And then Gaudreau leaves. Tkachuk wants to leave. And so at that point, I think a lot of fans wanted like, okay, it didn't work. We had our fun. Gaudreau was cute. Let's move on. But they go make the win now move with Uyghur and Huberdeau, along with Schwint in a first. And they tried to keep it going. I don't think this ownership group wants a rebuild.
They're afraid of losing that playoff money right here.
Exactly.
That's really where you're making at the end of the year. And even with the Habs, the biggest chunk of your profit will really be those playoff games. That's really where where you end up managing your pane a little bit there. That's where you get your profits. But let's be honest, hockey fans don't give a crap about owners these days. And with all the stuff, obviously I'm glad for Calgary, but when the fans end up paying for the buildings and whatnot, I think that excuse runs a little thin.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like now, especially with a new building coming, I don't think they want to suck, quite frankly. And so like again, you can understand it. And who am I to tell someone, no, don't get 2 games of playoff gates? How dare you want to get all of that money? Like that's more money than I'll see in my lifetime. But at the same time, that does not make a good hockey team. And so it feels like it is. I don't think it was Treliving's fault. Although he's not exactly showering himself in glory in Toronto right now with some of the moves he's made. But I don't think it's Conroy's fault either. I really do think that this is an ownership group that they don't want to do a rebuild. I believe that there's a quote that goes around all the time. When I believe it was when Ken King died, and I believe his name is John Bean, took over as like the official president of the overlord of the Calgary Flames, I think is the official title. And he said, "Rebuild isn't in my vocabulary." And it's like, what?
Oh my God! Immediately trebuchet him out of the building. Like just immediately.
Yeah,
oh my God,
eject button,
Browns
fly
for
away.
never getting that job, though. You know what I mean?
But that's what ownership wants, right?
Yeah, but that's like a general saying, like, I never retreat. Like, okay, well, you're gonna lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a terrible, terrifying quote for a sports fan.
And so now you get what we have here, where the Flames tonight, with all due respect to the players out there, I think rolled out 3 really good third lines. I don't know if there's a first line out there, but 3 really strong third lines that the Flames put out this evening. Like they're stuck. And you have Huberdeau and Kadri under long-term contracts. Zari and Pospisil are fine, but I don't know if there are building blocks by any stretch of the imagination. You basically have Dustin Wolf as the future of this team, goalie in the American Hockey League. Yes,
the great Wolf Hope.
Yeah, the great 5'11" goalie Hope is what they have right now, and that's basically it. Like there's a bunch of expiring contracts, but there isn't a whole lot to be excited about.
Well, you know what's crazy in all of this? We're talking about Josh Henderson earlier. I know for a fact that the Calgary Games came knocking twice last year and the year before, and put in very, very healthy offers for Josh Anderson. I'm talking the type of offers that You know, I'm pretty sure that's why they wrote the song "Take the Money and Run." There, you know what I mean? Like these are the type of offers that anyone that isn't really just kind of getting high on their own supply, thinking that their players are so amazing, would have taken immediately. So I guess they dodged a bullet there, given what we're seeing now. Things could be worse, Peter, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. No, for sure. And they were in on Anderson before Montreal got him too. Like there was a lot of talk about that. Like he has been. There's probably someone wearing a Josh Anderson jersey around Calgary because they thought they were getting him. Like
guaranteed, and it came very close, and for the trade as well. And before that, now here's the thing: I still think, and we'll transition to the Habs a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think that there's going to be a market for Josh Anderson, even if he scores 0 goals to the trade deadline, because that's the kind of guy that GMs just fall in love with. Like they've drawn up the picture of the Stanley Cup winning goal, and it's Josh Anderson in all his perk plus glory, like knocking guys left and right and going straight to the net and scoring that goal. So you know, it's funny that I think it's a fireable sin not to have taken that, and I'm not saying to fire Hughes, but in the long run, that's the type of thing where you say, holy shit, I screwed up there. Like that was a big mistake, and Hughes has done great, but that was a big one. The Habs, on the other hand, they're looking at guys like Lane Hudson. So speaking of prospects, Lane Hudson to make the next big impact. They have a couple other guys like Joshua Roy, Sean Farrell in the minors. But for now, I'd like to get, before I start rambling on, what's your view of the Habs right now? Because you ask our fans here, you ask Kay right now, she'll say the vibes are good. Well, she loves Caden Gooley, so she's always going to say the vibes are good after a Gooley game. But it's funny because Habs fans were told for the longest time, and Keck Shows mentioned it in our chat earlier, that Habs fans wouldn't do a rebuild. They wouldn't handle a rebuild. And let's be honest, that was utter BS. That was management giving that excuse, right? Mm-hmm. This way we get it. So what's your view kind of what's going on in Montreal right now from the other side of the from the other side of the country? How's it looking?
I think it's looking really well. Like it's kind of what a rebuild is supposed to look like, right? Like this was almost the perfect rebuild game. The kids play well. It was entertaining, and you lost in regulation. It was a beautiful thing.
It's funny because there's this constant battle on social media. The people that want them to win or play well, and the ones that want them to get another star. They're both right. Tonight, you're right. Tonight was a vibes are good loss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like you look at it, like Caulfield is obviously like a dude, for lack of a better term. Like that shot
he is him.
Yes, exactly. That shot is ridiculous, man. And Suzuki, just that quick little entry he made when it was the 6-on-4. Like I remember thinking Calgary cleared the puck out. I was like, okay, entries are always tough on he's in already. Okay, well, never mind. There's definitely something with him. Like Gooley, that was scary tonight, but happy that he is all right. But he looks like it feels like a lot of the building blocks are there. I do understand the desire for like that one more star. Because
Mishkov. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a Russian cough there lately. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Man, I knew I was listening to too much of you guys down the stretch last year when I was like, you know what? I think the Habs should take Mishkov. Like I was stealing what you guys were doing and putting it on radio out here.
Oh my God. No. Well, you know, hey, listen, that last time the Habs scored 40 goals, I don't remember. I don't remember. Let's be honest. The last time they got to 40 or 80 points, I think was Alex Kovalev. In Carey Price's career, he had one guy reach 80 points. One guy, and it was his rookie year.
Man, I didn't realize it was that bad. Holy cow.
Like, okay, this is how thirsty, you know, those brothers are thirsty for a player. They get when Kovalchuk came here and he was just at the end of his ribbon, and I guess he's going to go in the Ring of Honor just like Soderl did because he played for the Habs if he goes in the Hall of Fame. But Habs fans were losing their minds. They're like, we got a star. No, you got like the Obi-Wan Kenobi that's in the desert. He's hidden his lightsaber. You know, he's not going anywhere. Yeah. He's just here to protect Luke. And Habs fans were just losing their minds. Like even end of career Radulov, who was going out with Galchenyuk more often than Galchenyuk's girlfriend. You know, even the Habs fans were like, oh yeah, like, and he got like 60 points or something. So yeah. Montreal's starved.
Oh, for sure.
For a superstar.
It sounds like it, yeah. And like, so I can understand like the want for that one more. But it does seem like things are like progressing the way they should. I know that there has been quite the discussion about Slavkovsky lately. I don't know if this is the best game for the pro Slavkovsky crowd, because he wasn't awful or anything tonight. I didn't notice him a ton, which is for a rookie, that's not awful, I suppose, or for a second year kid. But yeah, like
he was okay. And I'll tell you right now, Peter, the thing is, there's a lot of Habs fans who are sick of he was okay in the process and all that. He actually had an assist. So on that goal, he created a lot of time and space for Dvorak, who made just a nice little pass behind the net. That was just Christian Dvorak's actually been really good for the Habs.
He was great tonight.
He was amazing tonight. We're not going to talk about it just yet for Habs fans, because we're going to give him a few more games, because, you know, since he's gotten here, he hasn't been amazing. But Dvorak's been better. I'll say this about Slafkovsky. What was happening, Peter, at the beginning of the year is that he'd get the puck on his stick, and because things weren't going well, he was overthinking. And you know as well as I do, even though it's beer league, but when you're overthinking out there on the ice, nothing goes right. No. Nothing goes right whatsoever, right? Every single decision you make is the wrong one. You hesitate. So he was kind of basically, he was hesitating, and everyone was thinking, and you can't do that in the NHL. So now his passes are a lot more crisp. A couple nights ago, set a career high for 10 shots. And this is after, okay, you were talking about 2-on-0s that don't get a shot. Slafkovsky with Caulfield, 2-on-0, tries to pass it to Caulfield, lifts his head, whiffs on the puck.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Everyone right, oh my God, Slafkovsky. And I write a sarcastic tweet about his shots. He comes out and he takes 10 shots in the next, between the second and the third period, 10 shots.
Yeah.
A ton. So Habs fans are happy to see that. He got another point tonight. It's just that one, they look at guys like Joshua Roy in the AHL that are dominating, and they're like, hey, it's going really well for this guy. Why are we rushing this guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they've come to terms with that was probably one of the weakest drafts in NHL history. And this is a project. But when they say it's a project and they're going to have to work on them, everyone thought that that wouldn't be done in the NHL. And I think that's really what's concerning most people. It's not a development league. And we're seeing right now Slafkovsky's having just a slightly harder time adjusting to the time and pace. That being said, you know what? It's probably his best 3-game streak all year. So
right,
I'd say, yay, good for Slafkovsky. but that's kind of setting the bar pretty low when you're saying he's got 1 assist and some advanced, some numbers were good, and our first overall pick had a decent outing. It's not exactly what people expect. And I think that's the biggest issue, Peter, is it's the expectations.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You put that label on in any market, and there's going to be expectations. But I would imagine that's ratcheted up in Montreal a little bit. And yeah, it's tough because you're right. The NHL isn't a development league. But if you want him to get used to the speed and pace of the NHL, you got
to play him with those guys.
You kind of got to play at the speed and pace of the NHL, right? So it can be frustrating to watch. But he does feel like that guy who you'll just look up one day and it's like, oh, it's worked now. They'll just be like a light bulb that comes on for him. I always find that the most difficult part of a rebuild, and I think it's happening in Ottawa right now and countless other places, maybe even Buffalo a bit, getting that goalie is the most difficult part of it. Like Ottawa probably would be full on out of theirs now if they could get a couple more saves each night.
The Oilers should be leading. Yes. It was funny, I'm looking at the Flames. I'm like, man, they've had a disappointing start, and yet they're not the most disappointing team in that province right now.
Yes. No, we are going to fly a banner as the best team in Alberta in 2023-24.
We're not as shit as you.
Yes. Oh, it's so nice because it's been that for a bit, right? Because the Oilers had all the first overall picks, and you don't get those because you're great. So while the Flames have been stuck in mediocrity, the Oilers were just stuck in the mud for a while. So these last 3 or 4 years where the Oilers have been good, that has not been. It's not what we've liked. So scary, we're digging this a little bit. Yeah.
Let's be honest though. Exactly. There's a smile on your face when you're like, oh, you know what? I can see a future where Connor McDavid asks for a trade or goes down south or whatnot. That must make Calgary Flames. So listen, bitterness is a huge part of hockey.
Yes.
It's a huge part of it. So,
and really it's all we have now.
Exactly. And for most fan bases, that is all you have. All right. So if anyone in the chat, thank you. We're seeing all of you, huge active chat. We love all of you, every single one of you. If you could favorite the chat and subscribe. We have Peter. He's hosting out of Game Over Calgary. I am Marc Dumont. I am your host from Game Over Montreal. Now, there was an event in the second period. I don't want to get into the politics side of it because it's so goddamn ridiculous that it's been politicized. But there was an incident where Caden Gooley, which player was it, Peter? I forget which Flames player. Lindholm. Okay, off the face-off, and this happens in hockey. This happens. Skate up, and it actually nailed him right in the visor, right? So coming back down, which is about an inch away from your carotid. Okay, your carotid, which is this right here. It's a very important vein that goes straight to your artery. So that is the exact same vein that Richard Zednik got cut. If you remember correctly, were there any Habs fans watching in 2008 when Richard Zednik, who's in February, got his neck cut. Anyone remember that?
Mm-hmm.
There was a trainer there. He was actually a Vietnam medic. So he's the one who saved Richard Zennick's life. I will look up. It's Jim Petrozzulli, I believe. Someone will look that up for me. But it's the exact same medic that was there for Clint Malarchuk in 1989 when he got his neck cut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Both those incidents would have resulted in death if not for this Vietnam medic. All I'm saying now is that the next time that it happens, and if those would have resulted in deaths, we would have had neck guards by now. But if those would have happened, if they wouldn't have been lucky, and I'm not saying I wish them to have died, we would have had neck guards by now. The fact that the NHL got lucky that a Vietnam vet was at the same one at both games, yes, it's absolutely great. We saved our players, but it was also just such a luck that will not happen again. So all I'm saying now is that we're seeing players try it in practice. There's no reason not to. Employers, their job is to protect their employees. So let's just forget the whole, it's their choice. No. We're talking about employees doing safety at their job. So it's the job of, they're instructed by law, employers, to protect their employees. And I just can't wait until we see more neck guards out there. We don't want another incident. Some people will say, hey, it didn't even hit his neck. That's the point. It's getting too close for comfort. It won't change anything. Let's get everyone in neck guards.
Yes.
Fair enough?
Hunter, I don't know why we're not. Like, everyone,
because everything has to be, everything has to be one side. I'm sorry, it's so stupid. People entrench themselves in the dumbest sides just to say, oh, I'm going against you. Listen, This isn't about you or me or anyone. It's about safety. That's it. That's all, right?
Well, and like I had Clint Malarchuk on my radio show out here in Calgary a number of years ago now. He might still be in Calgary, but he at very least does a number of different things around here. And it's like,
he doesn't love talking about it.
No, and it like forever altered the course of his life. Like it PTSD, like all of these sorts of things that come with almost, pardon my language, fucking dying on the ice. Like that affects
it's
a
miracle.
person.
To specify, the medic had to put his hand inside Clint Malarchuk's body and literally try to close the gap with his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only reason the medic knew this is because he was a Vietnam medic and he saw his buddies get blown up and he had to do the same thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's absolutely ridiculous that we're just because of those two events and that amazing hero, we're not there yet. But yeah, as you mentioned, it was so gnarly. It was so don't look it up. But when Malarchuk painted the ice,
yes. Yeah. Oh, it's horrifying, the images of it. And like, that's why I scoff when it's like, oh, well, they're uncomfortable. It's like, yeah, well, so is having someone's hand inside of you to save your life, right? Like that would seem to me to be mildly uncomfortable. So yeah, I don't get it
from an employee's base too. Listen, when Erik Karlsson got his Achilles cut, right away I'm thinking, hey, if I'm the owner, I'm protecting my asset. The moment that Erik Karlsson got his skate cut, okay, first of all, it ruined the Ottawa Senators, ruined the playoffs, cost them millions, and it's an asset. Like from the purely non-sentimental, not sentimental, no emotions involved. You want to protect your assets on top of protecting your employees, right? So yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that there's two sides to this. Let's just say, I know a lot of people have been wearing neck guards. The Habs have been wearing neck guards in practice. It'll take a little while though, right, Peter? That's how it goes with these things. It'll take a little while. And just like some guys start wearing socks after, those cut-proof socks, guys are starting to wear the neck guards. And I think it'll happen, but it'll probably be grandfathered in.
Yeah, like visors were, right? And we're both old enough to remember when that was a thing, where you're going to make everyone wear visors, make them wear dresses too, man. Like those stupid
same thing with the helmets, bud. Like I'm old enough to remember that shit. You know what? Jacques Plante was right now. Jacques Plante, if this was back then, people would be like, "Oh, you pussy, Jacques Plante! Like, why don't you eat more vulcanized rubber to the face, you cuck?" That's exactly what would be happening right now if Twitter existed back then. And you know what? Jacques Plante got mocked by everyone.
Oh yeah.
And he wasn't actually the first to do it. So yeah. They said they never wear goalie masks, they never wear helmets, they never wear visors. I listened to Don Cherry insult francophones for 15 years about visors. So yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen eventually, but it'll take time.
Yeah, 100%. These it's always mind-boggling. I would be wrapped in bubble wrap out there if I could.
Oh well, you and I would be broken right away, right?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. No, I'm a fragile little flower. So no, I wouldn't anything of that.
I played soccer with my godson this weekend, and halfway through, whenever, because we didn't have nets, I built them these tube nets, but there was no netting. Halfway through, I made a rule. I'm like, hey, if you miss, buddy, you got to run behind and get it, and then I have to like, I convinced him to put all his gear on because I want him to be warm, but I had to take my toque off. I was steaming, and so
no, I broadcast that.
We don't want to take anything away from these guys, but
no.
It's just logic. That's how the sport evolves.
Yes, exactly. Like there's and not again to just take all the emotion out of it. These are all like you said, $1 million assets that you have running around on knives for 60 minutes a night.
Bingo.
Like
bingo.
It's mind boggling to me. Like some of these guys are wearing less than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would wear back in the day. And
absolutely,
right.
no, for sure.
You have to protect these guys from themselves, right? Because they're like Sean Monahan, who I'm sure is going to come up soon. They were talking. You guys were talking. I'm sure you watched the Montreal broadcast tonight. On the Calgary broadcast, they were talking about, oh yeah, he would bend over to take a face-off and couldn't stand back up because his hits were so bad. But you know what? Teammate he was never told the training staff about it. I was like, that's fucking moronic. That like
tell them.
That's the hockey mentality, right? Like we celebrate stuff like that, and it's like, oh well, this guy was out there playing with a broken leg. It's like, well, he could have not, that probably would have been sweet too. You could have just not.
It's the same thing as who was it that came? Oh, he had a heart attack. His heart stopped. They got him back, and it was a Dallas player. Then he wanted to come back on the ice. He was so courageous, and I'm like, yeah, he's courageous, but that's stupid. That is about. And again, everyone knows that they're so tough here, and I got so many dumb replies when I mentioned it's time to do it. Is what next? Are you gonna play with pillows? Like, nope. I'm just talking about protecting about that thin piece of metal on the skates. And here's the thing: the sport has evolved. When Wayne Gretzky played, his shoulder pads were 2 pieces of newspaper folded together. His helmet was basically leather, right? But now your basic guy like your Arbor Jack guy now will be able to destroy any other player if they don't keep their heads up. That wasn't necessarily true. But like there were still tough guys back then, but now just the level of eliteness and physicality and the speed of the game.
Yes.
It brings an evolution, right? So that's what and again, I know that I'm being very, very, very preachy about this, but as AD mentions here, Zednik had 3/4 cut of his carotid artery, which is, sorry, I know I called it a vein earlier. I was going to say it feeds into the artery. It is the artery itself. So it does pump right through. And your blood takes about a minute to go around your body. So think of that. In 1 minute, the spurting. Anyways, I didn't want to get too preachy about that. Let's talk about Sean Monahan. Do you know that the Calgary Flames still owe the Montreal Canadiens their first round pick?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that, Peter?
It's come up a couple of times. And the way it's going, that could be quite the first round pick for you guys.
Right?
No, it's a difficult one because, as we mentioned, this guy has been through a lot. Like he is the person that you get the buzzes on in operation. Like he's had everything. But at the same time, when he's healthy, holy crap, is he really good? And you understand it, right? Because it wasn't working. His buddy just got just up and left to Columbus, which is going great for him. And so it's like, you know what? Let's turn the page and move on. We're bringing in Nazem Kadri. You would trade Sean Monahan in a first round pick for the 2021 Nazem Kadri in a heartbeat. It's just that everything has gone wrong since then. So that's
Kay's mentioning in the chat, like it actually made sense. That made sense to do at the time, and plus there were some big changes, as you mentioned. Would this is being really greedy? Would the Flames trade for Monahan now? Because he would be very good in their lineup. He would actually make it a lot healthier. Right now, he's essentially floating the Montreal Canadiens down the middle.
Right. And like, if this is a Flames team that is wanting to be competitive, one of the things they may need, especially if Lindholm wants to leave, is some strength down the middle. So like I did a segment on radio out here about like, okay, if we're going to make the Flames good, what do we need to do? And the amount of texts that were like, bring Monahan back, bring this guy back. Like fans are on board with this now too. It's like,
oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. Two firsts for Sean Monahan. Let's roll.
Well, no. Okay. We'll settle for Zary because then the Habs will have Kirby Duck, Gouli, Barron, and who else? Who was the Alex Newhook from that Team Canada? So we're just gonna have a full Team Canada line. I think Zary is the other one that came out of that draft that played for Team Canada. So yeah, let's do it, man. Let's.
There you go.
and your best prospect.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Well,
and Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah, let's totally just finish your rebuild. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But it honestly must be because, and also he's not a guy that you can root against, right?
No,
He's just a
no.
good dude.
Yeah.
I feel like now, and this is just back in the day, maybe people would get mad at him. Now the anger is just towards Calgary management, right? So yeah,
Honestly, a lot of the frustration is at Kadri for like if you would just be better, then we don't have to worry about this thing so much because they are like it's not direct, but it's direct because they're so tied. And until the last like 5 games, it's been really frustrating with Kadri. So I think that there's a bit of frustration with that. But yeah, no, it was time to end that era of Calgary Flames hockey, and it is so great to see Sean Monahan. I would say thriving in Montreal. The only thing that has been getting me is people would talk about it, and it's like, oh man, I can't believe that they gave up on Monahan. And if he would have been healthy at the deadline, Montreal could have got something for him. It's like, but that was the point, is that he wasn't healthy.
The whole thing, right?
That was the whole thing always, is that by the time that the end of the year came around, he had like, he would score his goals in the way that Dave Anderchuk would score his, which is really hard to do on a body over 82 games a season. And so he would just get the shit kicked out of him. And by the end of the year, it's like, well, yeah, I actually only have one functioning leg, but we're still out here.
Like the Patrice Bergeron, where he's like, actually, all my cartilage got replaced by like marshmallows in mid-December.
Yeah. I'm just leftover lassos from the Stampede is really all I have. Yeah.
No, I'll say this, and again, we've talked a lot of medical staff this tonight, and obviously with the heroics of the Sabres trainer who saved both Zednik and Malarchuk's life. I don't blame the medical staff for what happened with Sean Monahan one bit, and I don't blame them for what happened with Brendan Gallagher. And here's the reason why: they were lying to them. And it comes down to the player gets the last okay. It's not the doctor, right? So Gallagher came out this summer and he said, you know what? Maybe me lying to our medical staff and telling them that I'm healthy was a bad call. And I was like, yeah, buddy. You look up his history injury, which is, you got to dust off a scroll like in Aladdin. And so one thing that they're doing this year is they're being honest and they're not lying to the medical staff. And then the medical staff can do a pretty good job. And you saw Sean Monahan, if he gets a clipped toenail, he's going to be out of play. So that's what the Habs are going to do this year. They're going to really protect him to try to get something at the trade deadline, hopefully from the Vancouver. I don't wish harm on the Flames, but I really would love to see Kent Hughes is the kind of guy that would double dip and go 100%. Back and ask the Flames for, like, you know what, we'll take a 2nd round pick for him.
Yeah. Oh, how gracious. But yeah, like that is for a win now move. That would be the type of thing that they would try to pull off. I mean, look, they bought out Michael Stone. And then
but they gave him $4 million a year or something.
And
right?
they bought out Stone and then had an injury on the blue line and signed him again. So they had his buyout on the cap friendly page. Seriously? And then also his regular ass contract on there too. This is not an organization that is above doubling down on those types of things.
It's funny, and we have mentioned a comment here from Marc Deg saying non-athletes will never understand the thought process of people that play. No, I get it. I'm the same kind of dummy. The longest time when I would sneeze, my shoulder, and I have like an 8-inch scar here because they had to replace part of my shoulder because I injured it when I was wrestling. And when I would sneeze and I was playing a mouse, it would actually pop out of its socket and I had to die hard it back in. And my knee, you can ask Andrew in the chat, pops out all the time. And I start beating it like it owes me money. I put it back into place because that's what you do, but it's silly too, right? Like you end up paying for it in the long run. So okay, if you have any questions, we're gonna wrap this up after the last segment. If anyone has any comments and or suggestions or anything, throw it in the chat and we'll be glad to discuss all that. Now I will say this, I think we can all agree that things in Montreal could be a pattern for places like in Calgary, but until they start drafting, in my opinion, generational talents that are available at 5th overall, I don't know if we can for sure say that. That's the thing with the Habs right now, is there's some really great things by Hughes and company and some really questionable things by Hughes and company. And by the way, Mishkov's about a point per game, just turned 18 in the KHL, outproducing every guy in history at that time. Just putting it out there.
Yeah. He's going to be so good.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be ridiculous.
Oh my god. He's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
Imagine you're Philly there, and you're like, okay, that's like Kobe Bryant dropping. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And people said, oh well, he only wanted to go to Philly. That's fine. You do the who was it that took Kobe? I forget.
Charlotte took
Charlotte.
took
Yeah,
Kobe,
yeah. And they said, fine, but like, give me your picks and your players. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Anyhow, I'll get over that eventually. I just went back to I was watching the draft video today, and Jeff Gordon, I'm pretty sure they edited it, but halfway through he was like, hey guys, like, are we sure we don't want to take that chance? And I think that's what's going to hurt them in the long run, is lacking that chance. Okay, so Trizak wants to know, or is it Trinka? It's both. It's Trizak and Trinka, the combined. And I think they're both here tonight. Peter, what is your luchador wrestling name? Is it El Manila or the handlebar? No, I think we're gonna give Andrew had the worst but best handlebar I've seen in a long time. I'm so sorry for his wife though. Oh my god. What would your wrestling nickname be? Mine would be Golgamore the Destructor. I've already that's locked in.
I think mine has already been taken. There's a luchador in Mexico with the name Nino Hamburguesa, which I think is something to do with hamburgers. No? The hamburgers, which I think kind of really speaks to me. So that's yes, as a plus size human being, that's the one that speaks to me.
Keck Shows asks, can you explain the conditions in the Monahan trade? No.
Nope.
No. All right, moving on.
Yeah. I only have till Thursday for the next Flames game. I think we'd run out of time.
I'll be perfectly honest, and like I try to cover everything from Habs history to down to the Trois-Rivières and every single prospect, and I live my life for watching hockey. That's one of the ones where I was like, nah, absolutely not. I texted the Canadiens assistant manager at one point, and I'm like, buddy, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, man, that just got away from us. So anyways, it's complicated.
That's one where like we're only going to know right like whenever Montreal makes the pick with it, it's like, oh, okay, I guess it's theirs then. Like that's we're not gonna be able to guess ahead of time. Okay, well if this happens, then it's like, nope, Montreal's on the board. I guess they're drafting. All right, we'll roll with it.
Yeah. Exactly. We're just gonna let them tell us. But you know, it's funny because Kent Hughes has been known for doing that kind of thing, and even in his contracts, like he's the guy that got Darnell Nurse his contract, right? So like this guy he will mine F you and you won't even know it. Yeah, that's what Kent Hughes does best right now. Trinka says Andrew wins the handlebar competition. Yeah, well, he's also got the full bald head.
Yes,
like man,
it's quite the combo.
Like he's an empty beer away from being a Sons of Anarchy extra right now. Adam asks, in Canada, who's got the most and least functional management groups? You know, I will say that the Leafs last year, when it came out about the whole, their feelings were hurt because Dubas said, what was it, that he was like, it was rough on his life or whatever, and then they're like, maybe he's not fully committed. I think that is complete bullshit, and that showed huge dysfunction between those two. I don't know if they're the worst though, because Vancouver until this year, they've basically just been stepping on rakes left and right. Yeah, Edmonton has been gifted like they've been gifted the golden god, and they still are unable to do anything. Calgary's kind of sitting in the middle. Winnipeg, I mean, they're kind of doing the Calgary thing when you think about it. Kind of just sitting in the middle. Ottawa is supposed to be good. This is what year 4 of unparalleled success. And then you have Toronto, who is emotionally broken and can't win in the playoffs, and Montreal's just starting the rebuild. So I think there's a lot of dysfunction all over.
I would say most functional might be Montreal, honestly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That is a terrifying thought. Yeah, that's very, very scary. Yeah, and this is the team who scoffed at a generational talent. Okay, I'm not over the Mishkov thing. We have a question here from Tokai number 1. If the Flames were to relocate, okay, well, come on, whoa, and have an expansion draft when the stadium is done, would we have a better team than when Conroy could do.
So if they could just start over and do an
they're starting
expansion
from
draft,
scratch, right?
Yeah,
he didn't inherit any garbage.
Yeah, then I think you could. Yeah, I think we
so
have two very clear examples of that with Vegas and Seattle,
gift
right?
In expansion is not having the garbage, not having the garbage dumps built in your backyard.
Yeah, like the best weapon right now in the NHL is salary cap space. Now no one has it, but like the best weapon is cap space. So if you have a full roster of it, then look what you can do, right? Like Vegas just took advantage of that. And I remember going into the Seattle draft, everyone was like, oh, we're not going to be got by Seattle this time. That's like, some we're still got, you know, because like you just, at that point, you can't help yourself, right? Like, okay, well.
They fall in love with their own play. I remember Marc Bergevin was so afraid of losing Alexei Emelin, and then he lost him to Vegas and even tried to make a trade, but they didn't want to trade Alexei Emelin back. So he had to walk away.
Yeah.
They lost their worst defenseman, and they still panicked and tried to get him back, basically.
And there's
who did Calgary lose to Vegas?
They lost Derek England to Vegas, which it was weird because he was an unrestricted free agent anyway. So he was going to go there.
And they didn't pay him to.
Yeah, and so which was a ringing endorsement of the roster of the Flames at the time.
Well, hey, between the Habs, it was between Emelin and Charles Hudon, and Habs fans I might have stoked those fires. Were really afraid to lose Charles Hudon. So yeah, I'll say, you know what? Any team not having the mistakes that, like all for example, with the Habs, all that Kent Hughes has had to do essentially is clean up the crap that Marc Bergevin left, right?
Yeah.
So. It's really hard to inherit a team. I've even done it with fantasy leagues where I've been in them for 15 years. To inherit someone else's garbage is tough. It's really, really tough. So, you know, I would actually say Marc Bergevin left the Habs in a pretty good condition, even though he signed guys like Armia and Anderson. I get it, and Gallagher, but he didn't use up all the first round picks. He didn't trade the first round picks. He had all his prospects in place. He had all his picks in place, and that's actually a pretty good handoff. You know
for sure. Yeah, we've been talking about bear cupboards in Calgary for a very long time. So if you can,
I can't even think of who's the best player for the Wranglers, right? Or it's still the Wranglers.
It's still the Wranglers, yeah.
Who's the best player? Because it's no longer what's his face that wasn't getting called up.
It's not Zari or Peltier was
the francophone. Peltier. Yeah, exactly.
He got hurt in training camp, or else he would have been in the lineup tonight, which sucks because Montreal and all that.
Of course he did. Of course he got
timing. But yeah, like right now the most talented kid there is definitely Matt Coronado.
He was with the big club. Teammate.
Yeah, he was with the big club and then got sent down. So he is the standout. So it'd be him and Dustin Wolf right now. Are the two ones with the American Hockey League team to be excited about. But when
it reminds me a little bit of leaner times in Montreal.
Corey Pronman did that 5-year look ahead piece for the Athletic,
and he just didn't list a fourth guy or what?
Well, for the Flames, their top line 5 years from now was Huberdeau ? Which all three of those are real scary.
Well, I was gonna say, did Huberdeau have his own question mark in there too? So that's I will say this: he was never 100. What was it? It was a ridiculous number, 120. I forget what he got.
115, I think.
He was never a 120 point player like that. That's let's be honest. But that's I remember speaking to Andrew there. We were watching his son play soccer, and he was talking about the decrease in offense. I'm like, yeah, I don't think the league's ever seen like a 40 point decrease. And he's like, no, man, it was like a 60 point or 70 point. What was it? The actual drop off?
It was 60 points. He went from he went 115 to 55.
The last time that happened was the year that Wayne Gretzky retired, because he went from whatever he had to 0 points the next year.
Yeah, like he literally couldn't do that again. He didn't get enough points last year to have that much of a drop off again this year. So I guess that's right. Yeah, that's positive. But yeah, the biggest point drop off of a player in NHL history. So
absolutely,
we got history.
Okay, so we have let's go one last question here. We have Thomas asks. Thomas has been in the last few chats. They're calling you Randy there. I'm guessing that's like an homage to the hamburger thing earlier. Why don't you have another cheeseburger, Randy?
Yeah, 100%.
Store-bought. Question for Marc. Why do you think traditional media outlets are so lockstep with Habs management? In other words, they were talking down Mishkov before the draft. I noticed that too. And I thought, I won't call out any particular media outlets. Let's be honest. I've gone head to head with them before, and they just rally and bully me. Right? It's 150 of them. It's one of me. They really get angry. They try to make me lose my jobs. It's like they get so cutthroat that it's as everyone else. I've talked to other people in other, and it happens in other cities too. Right? So there's really a circle the wagons mentality in hockey media. For example, when everyone was giving Charles Lebrun props for giving up his question to what's the name of the TSN Sports reporter,
Rick Westhead,
who actually does journalism. Everyone's like, yeah, congrats for giving you. You know what? Someone else could have asked that. Someone else could have asked the question. You know, let's slow down from giving props to people for giving their way. You were there. You could have done the work. Anyways, all that being said, I noticed it too with Mishkov, and I thought it was pretty disgusting. For not only were they inventing things, they were saying, oh, a source of a source said it. They were talking about how his father was probably killed because Putin doesn't like him and wanted to extend Mishkov. Like, we're talking about media guys that said that in Montreal, and that's disgusting to actually use a young man's death, his father's death, as a strike against him is one of the most disgusting things we've seen. And I don't want to comment on it more than that, but if Mishkov was a good old Canadian boy, we'd be saying he's focused on hockey. He's a lot like Connor McDavid. He's just always hockey, hockey, hockey. Instead, and look, there's a lot of things happening in the world right now where I understand you'll have some negative opinions of Russia in general. But the fact that he wasn't from Canada really played into it, in my opinion. I thought it was disgusting, and I'm glad that people noticed it. Like, this is it got to the point that they're saying, oh yeah, well, we have sources that his teammates don't like him, so we shouldn't draft him. They're like, well, who are the sources? Like, bring them up. And nobody was saying who it was. It was all clearly invented, and I think it was pretty disgraceful on the part of the media. That's my opinion on it. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, no, like there always seems to be that with Russian players, right? Like every year it's like, oh yeah, this kid, like, really talented. He's put up 1,000 points in 4 games, but we heard, like, doesn't really love the game. Might have a bit of compete. You know, he might have a contract for a couple of years, as if every kid who gets drafted in the first round just comes straight to the NHL.
Took a few years to, exactly. You know, like Caulfield took a few years to get. Like, that's Anyways.
Yeah. That one has always been the lamest excuse for me.
All the stuff they said about him, is a little small. Cole Caulfield. It's going to take a while for him to get there. Cole Caulfield. We're not sure if he does other things other than offense. Cole Caulfield. Like, are we, oh, but he's going to fall in the draft because other teams don't trust him. Cole Caulfield, know? Anyhow, I thought it was just ridiculous. And I saw that too, that I really saw that the media was trying to just invent things about. I'm sure, you know what? I don't give a shit though if Mishkov isn't sorting his recycling properly. As long as he's not going out there kicking kittens into the canal. Yeah. I don't give a crap. I just don't give a crap. That's the way I look at it. Okay. Now I think that's pretty much, I think we're good. I mean, Claire brings a good one, and we can, hi Claire. Claire's my favorite. She's at every single broadcast ever. When I was with the Habs, she was there all the time. So we always say hi Claire to start the show and bye Claire to end it. And if everyone in the chat wants to do it, I'd appreciate that too. We can get everyone doing it. Peter, you're gonna have to do it too. Okay. Yes. The thoughts, and this is great because the NHL overtime, we'll end on this. Overtime is one of their best things they've done in a while. I know everyone complained, but the 3-on-3 is incredibly exciting, in my opinion. And here's my take. They're talking about guys retreating and, slowing the play down. They're not going back in their own zone to stop the offense. They're going to restart the offense. It is so short-sighted to think that that's negative because the result of them regrouping is offense. Right. So what's your take on this idea that and we'll be honest here, the NHL isn't about to do it, but they're discussing it.
Yeah, like 3-on-3 overtime should be longer for one, like more of it. I think that would kind of get rid of some of the antsiness of like, we only have 5 of these minutes. I don't know why you're taking 45 seconds to go back and loop-de-loop before you come in. But fair enough. No, you look at what would happen, because like we always think, okay, just do this and then it'll be great and there'll be so much offense. Coaches will suck the life out of everything they possibly can.
That's their job. That's what they do.
Yes. Yeah. And so there would be a trap put in yesterday for, guy kind of can't go back past the blue line. Boom. Cornered right there. Yeah. Can't do anything. Yeah. And the play just absolutely stalls from that point. So I think there would be a lot of unintended consequences for putting in a back and over. I can see where people are coming from because there is a bit of like okay, well now we have to wait. But then, like you said, when they come back in, they're coming in with speed and force and they have all the talent in the world because they're hockey players. So I think
they've realized that losing the puck once is kind of death and like that wide shot, right? That's We saw
it's
that
death. Yeah.
when it came in, that was a big. Now they're hardly doing that. But actually, left-handed penman mentions, "How about this? No offsides in OT." I listen. I love chaos. I'm for it. I'm immediately for it. Yeah.
I'm pro no offsides always, so I can get on board with that.
Perfect. Yeah. No, if he's cheating, he's cheating. Well, then catch him. You know, you can cheat too. Like if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I also don't mind the idea of, and I think I'll get pushback of it not necessarily being sudden death, though, kind of like in soccer.
Oh, okay. Like a full 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever you have it. Just
but that to do that,
wins.
You'd actually have to extend it to like you'd have to have either 2 5s or 1 10. Yeah, you couldn't. Right. Yeah. What would you think about that?
Oh, I would like that. Yeah, 2 5s.
You know, the team that got scored on, they have to go all out, right?
Oh yeah. And I mean, look, you could sell it to networks because you could put 30-second commercial in there, or just and now a message from DraftKings or whoever, you know, like you can put a thing
obviously.
in there. So it's like you could put something in there, and it's like, well, there you go.
You're thinking like an NHL man right now. You're thinking about the media.
I've worked in mainstream media for too long. I got that. But I will say the best OT format I have, and Conrad in the chat does some work with the Calgary Canucks, so he might remember when the Alberta Junior Hockey League did this. It was a 6-minute overtime. The first whistle after the first 2 minutes, it went from 3-on-3 to 2-on-2, and then the first whistle after with 2 minutes left, it went to 1-on-1. Yeah.
Oh, that's what. Okay, whoever was drunk enough to think about that, I want them on my marketing team right now.
That's just screw it enough to be Alberta, right? Where it's just like, fuck it, man, 2-on-2.
Was that Medicine Hat that you said? Is that
just the Alberta Junior Hockey League, just the everything here. So yeah.
Okay. You know, I have great people I love in Medicine Hat right now, but that's the type of thing that they would come up with right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
I did a game like that, and it was just like breakaway.
A bottle of 40 Creek, you come up with that type of you come up with that type of I absolutely love it. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up now because we're running at what 40 minutes there, Peter. We're at an hour.
Yeah.
And plus we made everyone wait while we had our fun little, you and I, Peter.
our little dress rehearsal.
Well, and you were saying you always have technical issues. I also always have technical issues. So by the way, everyone, I put in a call to Vidéotron a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to get back to me. It's just there is an issue with my building. Perhaps it's the fact that it's the oldest building in NDG, and they're having a hard time getting internet in here. So it's 2023, and the 2 companies that can offer internet are having a hard time doing it. Think about that. We're going to end it right now. As Jean Simon mentions in the chat, bye, Claire. We're going to say bye to Claire. Salut,
bye, Claire.
See, there you go. Peter knows it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back on Thursday night. I will be joining my friend Andrew Berkshire. We haven't done a podcast together in a little while. I was supposed to do the one where Scott was on, but my godson, lovable little character, he's gross. He's really gross. And I spent so much time with him that I ended up spending time with all his first grade class, if you know what I mean. So I got a little bit sick last week. But in the meantime, we want to thank everyone on behalf of Peter from Game Over Calgary, on behalf of myself, Marc Dumont, at Game Over Montreal. We want to end the best way possible. Bye, Claire.
Bye, Claire.